Hello, all, and welcome to the next session of Lookup Answers hosted by How to SFMC. For this session, we are going over mentorship from the perspective of mentors and mentees. The agenda for today is to dive into 4 of the major aspects of mentoring: defining what a mentor is, what makes a healthy mentorship, setting the right expectations, and how to find a mentor. We will get the answers to these questions from our team of volunteer panelists, and then we will leave some time at the end for some direct Q&A to our team of panelists. Unfortunately, I do want to note up front, Rob is unable to attend today due to a terrible event that happened yesterday in Kansas City. Events like these are honest tragedies, and although Rob is okay, our hearts go out to him and everyone that was affected. Please make sure to check in with anyone you know in the Kansas City area, as it likely has had a heavy impact on them, even if they are not directly affected. So, in order to fill the gap on our panel, I will be stepping in to take Rob's place on some of these panelist questions. But for now, let's introduce our panelists. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Greg Gifford. I'm going to be acting as moderator and also panelist for today's session. I am a current Salesforce MVP and marketing champion, and I did write a book on marketing cloud engagement called Automating Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I am also one of the founders of How to SFNC, but that's enough about me. Let's dive into all of our amazing panelists and hear their amazing stories and backgrounds. First up, I will push to Jenna.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jenna Matson. I am a co-founder of How to SFMC along with Greg, and have been in the marketing world for, oh Lord, a long time. So been around here forever, as you can see by all the blushes. Yeah, so welcome and thank you for joining us. And we hope that everybody find something that they enjoy out of this presentation today, and hope that you can find a mentor or find a mentee if you're looking for one after today's session.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Next up, we have Ariana Schleisman.
Good morning. Really excited to be here. My name is Ariana. I have been in the marketing world for quite some time and had just about every job there is, from speech writing to performance marketing and insights. And for the last several years, I really leaned into the email space and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Very excited to be here. I'm incredibly passionate about leadership and connection inside the workplace, since it's where we spend so much time. So very excited, and similar to Jenna, really hope everyone here finds something valuable today, even if it's not exactly what you were looking for. If it's a piece of inspiration, that's a win in my book.
Awesome. Thank you. And next up, we have Joel, excuse me, Joel Charbel.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Greg. It's nice to meet everyone virtually. I'm Joelle, and I've been in the marketing world for probably a decade or so in different roles. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem specifically for around 4 years now, and I've obtained 4 certifications, which I'm super proud of, and hopefully we'll be getting some more. I started out as an accidental admin at a startup company here in Austin 4 years ago now, along with others for cloud implementations. And so fast forward from there, and I'm working towards the admin cert, hopefully soon. So I'm just in the right crowd. And a few fun facts about me: I love to travel domestically, internationally. I just counted, and I'm probably at around 25 countries or so. I do an annual polar plunge every year back home in Minnesota, and I'm a lifelong volleyball player, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Amazing people we have on this call. I'm happy to know we are in good hands here. But now that we know each other, let's move on to the first topic, which is, what is mentorship? Before we're really able to discuss something, we should all agree on what that thing is. For this first part, we'll work to define mentorship. So, although many people have many different definitions on what it is, we're going to start with an official definition of mentorship, which is the influence, guidance, or direction given by a mentor, which then leads to our definition of mentor. Now, this first one is probably not what we're going to be talking about, but it's a friend of Odysseus entrusted with the education of Odysseus' son, Telemachus. That's probably not the right definition exactly, but we have two more that fit in, which is an experienced and trusted advisor and a trusted counselor or guide, such as like a tutor or a coach, which then leads us to mentee, which is one who is being mentored, a protege, a person who is advised, trained, or counseled by a mentor. This should get us all a base alignment now on what we are discussing. So, what is a mentor? Now that we have the textbook's definitions, I want to pass it to the panelists for their more detailed real-life definitions. Here we'd ask them to weigh in on what they feel mentorship means beyond the definition. Each person has a subjective definition or view into mentorship, so we ask you to share your take on it. And then we have a couple prompts below to help people with what we're looking for. So first up, I'm going to actually pass it to Ariana.
Thank you. Yes, I really lean into that trust aspect of the real definition, right? For me, these kinds of relationships, whether you're on the mentee or the mentor side, there has to be a great deal of trust, because ultimately both of you are being quite vulnerable, admitting that you either have something to share or something that you need from someone else. So having that mutual respect and trust in one another is critical to having a productive relationship. So that for me is absolutely vital. And kind of going along with that, like you mentioned, Greg, very subjective. I know there are many ways to find a mentor, but for me, an organic relationship where it's someone that I have an existing connection to, who then says, you know what, I really appreciate the way you do this thing, or I'm looking to grow in a way that you, in an area that you excel. So an organic start and a lot of trust is incredibly important to me in these types of relationships.
Absolutely. I'm going to step in for Rob, who is next. So I think there's probably a couple things that I always use to help define mentorship. First is the mentor does not need to be better or more skilled at something than the mentee in order for it to be a good relationship. I find that mentorship, I could look at the smartest person in the room and they could be a terrible mentor. They could be someone that doesn't know a way to teach. A mentor is someone that really knows how to get the best, how to enable those below them. And I've had mentors where I've been more productive than them, but because of their people skills and their leadership capabilities, they actually enabled me to grow and beyond even where I was. So like that's one thing that I always say is there's never a time that you shouldn't look for a mentor, even if it's mentorship inside of different areas from what you're doing. You're not going to be able to grow without someone to help lead you there, because the goal of a mentor is to remove those roadblocks they've had to go through in life to be able to enable you to grow beyond where they are. All right. For the next one, I'm going to pass it to Jenna.
Oh, I love this question. So I agree, like you need trust, but trust can be built too, so I find that sometimes, mentorships don't come with trust from the get-go. You have to like take your time to get to know people, so it's okay if you don't have initial trust to begin with, back and forth. It takes time to build a bond sometimes with individuals, but trust is essential for a long-term relationship with your mentor or your mentee. So I totally agree with Ariana with the mentor, with the trust factor. And mentors come in all different shapes, forms, and places. You don't necessarily need a mentor to build your career or for career purposes. Sometimes it's better to have a mentor that doesn't work in your field, that can give you a different perspective, that you might go to them with work type issues and work type questions, and how to advance yourself, how to how to smooth out a relationship with a stakeholder, whatever, but even if they aren't working in our industry, they might have really good experience and really good information to pass over to you and advice to give to you. So don't necessarily lean on mentors in our industry alone. Look for mentors all around you. And a mentor is still a human. They make mistakes. They say wrong things. They put their foot in their mouth, and everything else. So don't expect a mentor to save you, to find you a job, to to do any of those things for you, to parent you, whatever. They're human. So it's a two-way relationship. A mentor should get just as much out of the relationship as the mentee does. So there's growth on both sides.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up is Joel.
Great stuff, Jenna. For me, when I think of what does it take to be considered a mentor, I would say enough professional and also life experience that you can help somebody in different career ways and personal and life ways, from networking to guidance, just to having a shoulder or to cry on, or just to talk to openly. Perhaps in the Salesforce realm, technical advice and guidance in this very, technical software specifically. Somebody that can provide constructive criticism and positive feedback to help somebody grow, but also, like everyone else has mentioned, trust and being able to communicate are super important so that both parties feel comfortable and like it's going to be a good benefit in a good relationship.
Awesome. Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention, so I'm sorry, I'm jumping outside of our our order here, but I wanted to bring up the difference between a coach, a guide, and a mentor, because a lot of people kind of use them all in the same way, and they're actually kind of different inside of some nuances. So a coach is like you'll see like a life coach or a basketball coach. There's someone there that's going to teach you, to help you find the next step, but they're not going to be heavily involved inside of your life. Like they'll be there a couple days. They'll go, hey, you should try this, but they're not going to help you try that. They're not there to get that full picture there. And then a guide is just like the name says, they'll guide you. They'll give you, hey, you should check these links out. Hey, this might be a good path for you. But again, it's not as detailed. A mentor is someone that is in your life, that is focused on you personally, guiding you to those next steps through different activities, through specific honed things on you. So that's just one thing I wanted to add in there. So thank you, everyone.
Mentorships are personal, more personal.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So thank you so much for everyone's responses. This is all great stuff. Now that we have the first topic in the bag, let's move to this next topic. How to have a healthy mentorship. Not all mentorships are healthy nor helpful. We want everyone to be aware when things might be toxic or less than healthy. So to start, to be the best and get the most out of anything, you need to act your best. If you are not your best self in a situation, then it is time to take a deeper look at it and see if you should make a change or move on from it. Some great small snippets of advice on defining a healthy relationship mentorship, not relation, although they're the same thing. A mentorship is a relationship. Setting boundaries for what the mentorship will include or not include. Define your expectations on each other and set meaningful goals. Personal health and wellness. A mentor/mentee should not be a quote unquote drain on you or cause you anxiety. Communication should remain professional with a degree of formality. Friendships may emerge, but respect is key to health. And as stated, respect is key, but it needs to be mutual respect. If mentees respects the mentor, but not vice versa, that is not a healthy mentorship. So now we're going to move to the question for the panelists to provide some more in-depth insights into healthy mentorship. Much like all relationships, mentorship is based on trust and respect. We would like to ask our panelists to tell us what they expect from a healthy mentorship. Below are a few prompt questions to help guide the response. So first one up here is Jenna.
Hot seat. All right. Well, so, and I come at this from both angles. I've had some really great mentors in my life and been very, very lucky that have formed into some really lifelong friendships. I travel with one of my mentors on a regular basis, so you can develop some really close, intimate, personal relationships with some of your mentors. Um, being vulnerable with your mentor, and there's that trust, right, Ariana? We're back to trust. Being able to be vulnerable and having that trust to be able to be vulnerable with your mentor is really, really important. So I think, and going to the questions with this, I think that that's important because you have to respect each other's level of comfort with that vulnerability. Some people might be able to be more open than other people and may be willing to be more share quicker than others, and while the other party might take a little bit longer to open up to the other party. So it takes time. Don't expect a mentor or a mentee to rush into that really personal relationship. Like I said, it takes time to build that level of trust and to allow both sides to open up, so that you guys can support each other, because it's really a two-way relationship. We talk about mentor versus mentee or whatever, but there are times, like I was saying, my mentor that I travel with, there's times he calls me and asks me for advice. There's times I call him and ask him for advice. So it really goes both ways once you've blossomed into that kind of relationship. So there's no real titles in a good mentorship, in my opinion. Deal breaker from a mentorship. I love that question. Violation of trust, number one. But if you don't respect the other person, respecting their time, respecting their personal boundaries, respecting their limits, respecting what they hold valuable to them, is highly important. If they don't engage, like for me, I'm not going to chase a mentee. If someone comes up to me or someone approaches me and says, hey, I'd like some advice from you, and they continue on with, if they ask one time, great, that's just advice, I'll issue some advice or whatever. But if they continue on, which I have some really great mentees that have reached out to me that I did not know, they were just individuals in the community and have pinged me, and we've developed these beautiful relationships, because they were asking for just simple little advice. And we've learned to work together, and that mentorship formed naturally. But if they don't come back and continue to ask for advice, I'm very busy. I don't have time to chase a mentee down. So please respect my time, and I'll respect yours, and remember to keep reaching back out, yada, yada, but respect each other's time. That's a deal breaker if you don't communicate effectively. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next up is Joelle.
All good stuff, all good insights. So for me, the word in the first question, what do you expect from a mentor? That's a key word, because if you expect things and you're not communicating, it will lead to miscommunications and assumptions. So I think it's really important to be open and clear about what each person can bring to the relationship. So I think it's important to have that conversation around the expectations and setting sort of some boundaries. And as a mentee, I would expect the mentor's time and advice and seniority to help me grow farther and faster, especially in this ecosystem in Salesforce in particular, than without a mentor. Somebody who's been down the path longer than I have, and having a authenticity to that relationship and having a good connection is really important. In terms of boundaries, time, people are busy, everyone's busy, everyone has their own lives, personal and professional. Communications, you need to talk about what sort of communication you'll have in that relationship and what each person can bring to the table. So it's a give and take, and the expectations. So at the end of the relationship, if there is an end, what might, come of that relationship? And deal breaker, that's a great question. Um, I would say if it's becoming more of a one-way street than both ways, it's kind of leading to a organic dead end. So that would probably be my answer for that one.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up, we have Ariana.
Thank you. Yes, I love the way this conversation is going. To me, that expectations and boundaries really go hand in hand. Understanding what each person is anticipating getting out of the relationship can really help you set appropriate boundaries. If there are topics that are off limits, or if there are areas where someone is not interested in receiving feedback, I think that's a valid boundary to set, but it needs to be set up front so that you don't break that trust or violate someone's trust and comfortability and that vulnerability. So really outlining, here's why I'm coming to you. Here's why I'm comfortable being your mentor. Here's what I'm looking to learn. Having a very open and honest conversation about those expectations can really lead to building that trust that Jenna mentioned earlier. If you don't already have a really solid foundation of it, being comfortable with outlining those expectations can help to build it, because you're showing that you do respect one another's priorities. For me, the comment about, I don't want to chase anybody down. I really love that. I have said many times, I don't want to invent anyone else's purpose. So a deal breaker for me is if you don't know what you're expecting out of the relationship. Not having a clearly defined, here's an exact goal I want to meet, is absolutely fair. I very rarely have those. I'm much more of I'm going to get a big idea and I want to talk about it and it's going to lead me to another big idea. But if it's that one-way street of me continuously providing guidance or ideas or feedback, and there's nothing being kind of latched onto in a return of thoughtful questions, or I still don't get that, can we continue to talk about it? Once it becomes that one-way street, that is a deal breaker for me, because I'm not here to create a bunch more of me's. I don't want that. I love the two-way street aspect of it, because I want to take pieces of those mentees with me. I fully anticipate to grow myself. That one-way street and that feeling like I'm really overly involved somewhere is a deal breaker for me.
Awesome. Thank you. So next up is me. So I think probably one of the biggest things that I have to define a healthy mentorship. For some reason, I keep wanting to turn this to relationship. Healthy mentorship is intent. The intent both of the mentor and the mentee, because there's mentors that will go out there. Their intent is just to get a whole bunch of mentees that they don't plan to really do anything with, just so they can go, I have 10 mentees underneath me. Look how important I am. That is not a healthy relationship. Mentorship. And then vice versa with a mentee. If they're there to use you to get you to do their work for them, to just go, hey, I know this person, he's mentoring me, this high level person is, my friend, they're behind me, I want them to use their clout to get me hired. That's also not a healthy mentorship. That is essentially almost parasitic inside of nature there. So that's one thing that I always use to help define it is this person actually looking to work with me and grow, or are they looking to use me to grow themselves? So that's my main focus on health of mentorship. Outside of that, I have the boundaries. Is this person going to respect my, hey, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to answer your questions during that time. Please don't reach out. Absolutely, afterwards we can catch up. I can help go through, but I'm blocked for this part. If they're not going to be able to respect that, and they're going to bombard my cell phone, they're going to bombard my email, they're going to be calling me, anything like that during that time, that is not showing the level of respect I would expect. And vice versa with me, I would like to be able to have it where they are respected on their times that they're unable to go, or even outside of that, have specific topics where there's a topic of, say, I'm uncomfortable with people leadership. I don't think that's a place that I really feel strong discussing. I hope that they would be respectful, limiting the topics related to that from our conversation. So it's really, I think those two are the main things that I look at inside of a mentorship to see if that is a healthy spot for it to be. All right. Before we jump in, was there any last minute comments, kind of like I had on the last one? Anyone wanted to share? All right.
No, just agree.
Awesome. All right. Now that we have a good grasp on healthy mentorship, let's move to the third topic. What to expect from a mentorship. Expectations are paramount in any relationship, and if they are misaligned, this can cause major issues and set up the mentorship for failure from the start. Being a mentor or a mentee comes with responsibilities. Here we have a list of some example expectations. Engaging conversations. In order to be productive, both parties must be fully engaged in the mentorship. Coaching and guidance. This is a major expectation on the mentor. As someone that has been through it already, they need to help the mentee skip out on as much of the roadblocks as possible. Learning and growing, although mostly aimed at the mentee, this is also something that the mentor should experience as well. Sometimes fresh perspectives can introduce major changes. Collaboration and partnership. Mentorship has a dynamic to it, with a first among peers mentality related to the mentor, but it is a duo, much like Batman and Robin. So you need each other to make it work. Networking and relationships. As with any relationship, mentorship is also about new people and new opportunities to help you by expanding beyond where you are to where you want to be. Now let's hear from what our panelists think.
Can I add one more bullet point before you move on?
Sure.
I just thought of another one. Empowerment and encouragement. A lot of mentees are, they know it already. They just need to be encouraged. So that's another expectation that I think should be on there. Anyways.
Awesome. All right. So on this one, we have mentorship expectations. One might have great expectations for your mentor. So much like, much like the Dickens novel, there is more to the relationship than meets the eye. So we need to make sure our expectations are based in reality and are achievable. Below are some more example prompts to help guide the responses from our panelists. And this one, I get to go first. So expectations, I think probably growth and enablement are the main expectations on the mentor that I've run across. I think that the mentor should be the one further enabling across many different ways for the mentee. But I think the mentor needs to be focused on what they're doing, not just on what the mentee wants, but what the mentor actually feels is a good growth area. Because a mentee may be, hey, I want to grow my technology skills. That's where I'm really passionate about. But the mentor can see, I understand that, and that's a great passion. But your people leadership capabilities are phenomenal. That's somewhere that you could easily grow out. You might want to explore that as a possibility for further career growth. So like, it's more than just giving the mentee what they want. The expectation is the mentor sees the larger picture of the person and views the person's capability and growth. That also comes to the expectation that the mentor should ask questions, should help the person lead themselves. Be like, okay, what do you see as your goal in 5 years? Where do you want to be? And then that person can give the answers, and then you can use that to figure out goals to get to that 5-year goal. So like that's where I see from a mentor perspective. On a mentee, I kind of see it as they have to be the initiate of a lot of this. They're the ones that are driving the mentorship. The mentor is there for you, but they shouldn't be the one with the carrot in front of you making you do things. It's your job to have that initiative to step forward and continue to grow and do the things that is agreed upon as goals and actually keep that going forward. But also, as a mentee, is to question the mentor, to push back and go, hey, I understand this is what worked for you. I think this might work for me. What are your thoughts on that? And be able to help go beyond just that order taking type area. As to when it's run its course, I think the end of a mentorship does not mean the end of a relationship. I think that a mentorship should have a specific goal. And once that goal is met, say, hey, I want to be a director in 5 years. Once you reach that director role, you no longer need to be mentors, but you can still continue conversations. You can still have where you ask them questions or advice. It's just no longer that formal mentorship. So from there, I will pass it on to Jenna.
Oh, I'm so excited to have come after you because I have rebuttals to a couple of things. Love this. All right, so first of all, I agree with 99.9% of what you just said. But and let me preface everything with what I say without getting too philosophical is I hate expectations. I think they're the death of all relationships. And because people often miscommunicate them and miscommunicate their own needs. And bleh. Anyways, okay, so I hate expectations. So a couple of things. The mentee is definitely driving the relationship, right? You know, I mean, they're the ones that are looking for advice and guidance and help in a lot of cases. So if they're not asking, again, I'm not going to chase you. Um, that is definitely an expectation as a mentor that I have, even though I hate them. But yeah, so I always keep that in mind. And how do you hope to improve in your mentorship? Honestly, keep yourself open. Don't expect your mentee to um, listen to everything you say or follow every piece of advice you issue. Greg can tell you this honestly. I rarely listen to any advice anybody issues me. People have been telling me to be a people leader for years, and I don't want to do it. And and he's nodding because he's one of the people that tell me to be a people leader. But so um, you don't have to take the advice. You know, if you have trepidation or fears, you know that's cool. But you know, let your mentor know that you appreciate the advice they're issuing and you hope to grow into that or you hope to work through whatever's holding you back from taking that next step in the path that they're trying to push you forward in, you know, because they do see something in you that you might not see. So listen to what they say. It's solid feedback. um, and then I don't believe a mentorship ever runs its course. I'm one of these loyal till death people. So, and one of my mentors passed away like 5 years ago. So I believe in staying loyal till death. But so that's where I say mentorship never really runs its course. Now I say that, but a mentorship does have peaks and valleys. Like there are times where you might not need a mentor for X, Y, and Z, you know, and that mentorship becomes more of a friendship, you know. And then there are times when that mentor might have something, you're going through another life experience, and that mentor might have been through that before, and you might turn back to that person, you know, and say, you know, I need more advice, you know, or more help. And um, that's why I say I don't think a mentorship really runs a set course. But unlike Ariana, I don't believe in having the predetermined goals all the time. I believe in keeping things open and fluid. And so, you know, let it grow with you, you know. That's what I have to say. I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next up is Joelle.
I love it. I'm still laughing in my head at the Batman and Robin thing from 10 minutes ago. It was great. For me, the first question, how do you hope to improve in your mentorship? Again, you know, expectations, be clear, communicate, and don't expect or assume things. You have to just be very open and transparent. But I would probably work on defining specific points or topics, whether they're soft skills, technical skills, career navigation, whatever it may be that somebody would like to get better or improve during that relationship, and make sure it's in alignment with the mentor skills and know-how. In terms of what sort of growth you expect to see in a mentee, I've only unofficially been a mentor to a couple people, so but I would expect that they can grow professionally, whether it's career advice, personally. Um, and then for the third question, when does mentorship run its course? I don't have an answer for that. It could be never. It could be 6 months. It could be 6 years. It's up to each relationship probably. And the fourth, what do you expect in the first couple of meetings? Getting to know each other, right? You're not just going to start and just figure things out immediately. You have to get to know each other personally, professionally, understand where somebody has been and where they would like to go. Be open, be authentic, be yourself, and probably start to outline sort of maybe a timeline or guideline of milestones or things that you'd like to accomplish working together. And it doesn't have to be formal, like it should be authentic and maybe informal in the way that you communicate, but maybe set up specific timelines, like, okay, let's meet once every 2 weeks and then we'll figure it out from there. So that's my answers, Greg. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next up is Ariana.
Thank you. Yes, lots of great things said. So I'll try not to repeat too many of them. But that first question, how do you hope to improve? I show up pretty confident in my beliefs of how and what I expect of myself in a leadership capacity and in a teammate capacity. So while I really firmly hold those beliefs and that kind of foundational structure to who I am, I absolutely expect to learn new ways to deploy those beliefs from each person that I interact with. I want to understand the way that I'm engaging people based on this core belief system that I have. Is that effective? Do I need to modify it in some way? It doesn't have to change the core belief, but it does change how I show up. So that's something that I expect in each relationship. For the mentee, though, like we've been talking about, I just anticipate a lot of productive back and forth conversations. I want there to be follow-up questions. I want there to be, ooh, we talked about this and I fell down a rabbit hole because I was suddenly sparked interest in this topic that I wasn't anticipating. So as long as there's still excitement and engagement, I think that's always growth. I'm a little bit on the genocide where I'm loyal to the death as far as how long do these mentorships last. I do believe that many of them turn into friendships. One of my most near and dear mentors is absolutely just my friend now. He helped me through so much in my early career, and now he's just someone that we talk about our kids and our marriages, and we have the same birthday. So we text each other birthday buddies. We chat about, what we're going to do. It's just very much a friendship now, but it was born of me being so inspired by the way he showed up and wanting to find ways that I could emulate that, but still be myself. So I firmly believe that, these relationships can last an incredibly long time if that mutual respect is there and that connection is maintained. But it's also okay if it's not. If a relationship naturally fizzles out, that's absolutely acceptable and happens whether or not it's in a mentorship capacity or a friendship. But there's seasons for everyone. So I think just an organic ending, or if something is going wrong, it's okay to say, you know what, I think we're done here and we can leave amicably, and that's okay. And in our first couple meetings, like I mentioned earlier, I expect these relationships to kind of be organic. So I'm hoping that, we've had several conversations already. We're getting a little bit more in depth and a little bit more personal and aligned to, here are some goals that I have, or here are some insecurities that I'm really trying to work through. And I'm hoping you can help me with these. So as we've talked about already, kind of outlining, here are things that I don't want to discuss or I'm not comfortable with yet, and setting some of those boundaries, but really setting the expectations of, I'm here, I want to show up, I'm ready to be engaged, here are some areas where I might be struggling, and I'm hoping that you can help me out of those. So yeah, just kind of establishing what the goals are there.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great stuff from everyone. Another topic done. That's awesome. Just check that off. Let's move on to our final topic. How to find a mentor. Yes, it is awesome to know the ins and outs of mentorship, but without a mentor or mentee, it doesn't do much. So we wanted to have the last topic be around how to find that perfect mentor or mentee and connect. So there are many ways to get a mentor. We put the most mentioned and most successful paths we could find here, which is Slack groups like How to SFMC, little plug, self promotion there. There's other community groups out there. There's different networking events. There is the official Salesforce mentorship programs. There's also in your workplace. That's honestly where I found most of my mentors has been through people I work with. Then there's also through friends and family. You'd be surprised how many of your friends or different family members have special skills that you didn't know about, and being able to connect with them is an awesome thing. And of course, there is much more. So one quick thing I wanted to just share out is to find a mentor or a mentee, one must first form a connection, and from there, you need to gauge if the mentorship is a good fit. One should not just quote unquote cold call experts or well-known professionals asking for mentorship or coaching. This tends to have the opposite effect of what is intended. So now, without further ado, we move to the panel on this topic. How did you find your mentor or mentee? First one up is Joelle.
Great stuff, Greg. For me, I'm right now looking for a mentor. So this is the perfect space in this ecosystem, in this time, for me to say, hey, I'm here. You've heard a little bit about me, but like you said, it's about finding somebody that you can connect with. And it does feel like sometimes it can be a bit of an awkward thing. So a good way can be during your work hours. If you have a teammate, if you have somebody else in a different department, that would be a natural way because you've already built those relationships to find a mentor or a mentee. Otherwise, like you said, these Slack groups, the Salesforce and marketing community, it is the right ecosystem if that's what you're looking for to grow and develop in that particular space. So how did Joelle find her mentor? Maybe as an outcome of this. So TBD. That's it for me.
Sorry, I had to mute because someone decided to play music and I started talking instead of unmuting first. So thank you. And next up, we have Ariana.
Yes. So I have found almost all of my mentors and mentees through the workplace. I think it's a great kind of pre-screen to understand how people show up and how they engage. To me, that's where you can find those inspirational or aspirational leaders that you want to learn something from or start to modify some of your approaches or behaviors to emulate, not be exactly like draw inspiration from. But I've also found actually, which is kind of a bizarre happenstance, but one of the mothers of one of my daughter's classmates, I just had a few conversations with her. I was so incredibly stricken by how she approached motherhood and working motherhood. And I just randomly asked her, like, hey, can we please get coffee? And from there, we were getting coffee more often. We started texting each other. It became a very trusting relationship, sharing just how we show up in the world, which I would have never expected. I am not the kind of person who jumps into my daughter's like birthday parties that she goes to and chats up all the moms. But there's just something about this particular woman that really drew me in. So I think being open and kind of listening and having your feelers out in the world, workplace is an easy one and a comfortable one and an absolutely fine one, but don't close the door on other opportunities.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Next up is me. I know we're starting to run a little short on time, so I'm going to try to condense mine as much as I can. I fully agree vast majority of the time I found it in the workplace. I think that's because for majority of my career and my life, I've been very much an introvert. So really, unless I know you, I kind of hide. I've become more extrovert over time and been a bit more personable and outgoing. But I think that's a lot of my reason is because honestly, that's as Ariana was saying, that's like the pre-vetting of people, and you're able to know a lot about them before you initiate that relationship to go to a mentorship. So that's where a lot of my focus is. I've found though over the past couple of years, as I've grown more out there and started communicating heavier inside of places that I'm not, required in order to get paid to sit at. I've found tons of amazing people, especially in groups like How to SFMC, another shameless plug. Uh, but through like email geeks, through even just Slack exchange, I've met people that are amazing and been able to connect with them and grow relationships and different levels of mentorship there. So it's really, you want to look at your own comfort as to how far out you want to reach to be able to do it, as long as you retain the idea of not cold calling someone. I know that's a phrase that may not be fully translated to a lot of people, because I come from a mortgage background and call center oriented, which a cold call is out of the blue.
I think we all know what a cold call is as a marketer, Greg.
Just in case, I've run into many people that look at me like, what does that mean? You got like a nice cold phone? So but it's essentially just reaching out to someone that has no idea who you are or no real existing relationship. That usually does not go well. So that's my quick one, and I will pass it to Jenna.
And I'll be really quick too, because I know we're shy on time. I agree with everybody here. Like I actually, my first mentor came from a historical society, so another community I'm active in. And he was an old ad man, but he never worked in the digital space. So you never know where you're going to find your mentors again. Like Ariana was saying, you might find them in very interesting places. I have had a mentee cold call me, and they're one of my favorite people in the world. So I'm going to throw that out there, Greg. But they did it through LinkedIn in a very professional manner. It wasn't, like I said, it was very professional. They knew me from Women of Email and from other organizations that I'm a participant in. And that individual is one of my favorite human beings. So, you know how that goes. So you never know where you're going to find a good mentor or a mentee relationship. Just keep yourself very open. The mentor that I travel with was an old boss of mine. So work, once again, they come from everywhere.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And to just give a quick clarification on what I meant by that, because you made a very good point with the cold call part. Yeah. I don't mean don't reach out to start a relationship and have a discussion, because I mean, if you approach it in a professional manner and you started out with just, hey, I'm really impressed with how you're handling things. I'd love to start chatting with you. Maybe, get a little bit of advice here or there. Is that okay? That's very different from coming out and going, hey, I want you to be my mentor. I need you to skill me up and things like that. So like it's the way you approach it. If you just jump right in, both feet.
Forceful is not going to work.
Yeah, they're going to push back. But like if you approach it in the appropriate professional manner, that's different. So I just wanted to clarify that's what I meant, because you made a very good point there. I didn't consider the implication.
Well, and I've had people cold call me like you're talking about in a very aggressive manner, or like, hey, I need a job. I'm a mentor. I'm not here to find you a job. Yep. So again, with the expectations, and you're right, Greg, that cold call, I just, if I've ever ignored you, you're probably a little bit too aggressive. So sorry.
All right, awesome. So thank you everyone for great answers and thoughts. This has been great. Prior to moving to the Q&A section, though, I did want to give a quick update around other How to SFMC lookup answers. So here we have some of the different ways that we can join and learn about these future events. Obviously on howtosfmc.com, the Slack community group, and then follow us on socials like LinkedIn and Twitter, which is now called X. Not sure why, but that's the new name. So here are some upcoming events. I do want to note these are projected topics. They're not guaranteed to be addressed, or are they listed in any order of release. We will be working to make this a very agile series so that we can make sure to hit hot topics as they come through and not be set on this is the way and, this highly important thing that just popped up that we should address now has to go 6 months out. We want to prevent that from happening. So therefore topics can change up to when the next event is officially announced. Once it's announced, that's the next event though. But the upcoming ones that we're looking to talk about are Mobile Connect, Marketing Cloud Personalization and its integration to engagement, Einstein and baked in AI for Marketing Cloud engagement, and the Salesforce ID and subscriber key best practices. Before we open up to QA, I just want to give a huge thanks to all of our panelists. We got Jenna Matson, Ariana Schleisman, Joelle Charbel, and unfortunately, although he could not make it, I still want to give a huge thanks to Rob Rice. Amazing job, everyone. All right, we are now going to open it to Q&A. I do ask you push it into the chat, any questions you have, and we will be happy to answer them.
One quick note: we don't have much of a presence. How to SFMC does not much of a presence on Twitter X. So we do announce events, but that's about it. So please join our Slack space. There you go.
Awesome. Yes. No, our Slack space is the best way to get the most up-to-date things for sure. All right.
And we'll respond.
Yes. We're very responsive. So first thing I saw was someone was asking how to reach someone on How to SFMC for mentorship. They are a current developer and wanted to transition into a consultant. I did see Tony reached out and saying jumping into the general channel or random channels and simply asking if anyone is interested in chatting and start from there. That is absolutely great advice. Throwing yourself out there and making your intents known are probably the best way to find the appropriate person. There's also, if you start a conversation, you ask a question somewhere and people start responding, you start connecting and seeing if you can build a relationship off of that advice, and then ask for if there's any way to connect further. Again, you have to keep it in a respectful way, but that is probably the best way to find and start a mentorship. I wouldn't, as much as, I want to self-plug How to SFMC as it's one of my, my children. I don't want you to limit yourself to that group. I want this to sit outside everywhere, because you'd be surprised where you find the best mentors or mentees. It's out there in the world. Just have the conversations and just let it kind of organically and responsibly grow. Is there anyone else that wanted to add it to that question?
Yeah, community groups, Email Geek, Slack, Women of Email. There's a lot of community groups out there for our industry. There's a marketing ops. What do they call themselves? Anyways, there's a bunch of different community groups. If you're a marketing champion, just put yourself out there, and talk to people. And talking to people, you'll form organic mentorships. Even if you didn't intend to develop a mentorship with somebody, you end up forming organic mentorship sometimes. So just talk to people, get involved.
100%. All right. Next thing I saw is everyone should cold call Jenna.
Thank you, Leslie. Really appreciate that one. I'm going to forward them all to you, babe.
No, so that's a note now. Everyone on this call, make sure to pass it around. Everyone should contact Jenna Matson.
And I will just forward the love along. But anyways, that's awesome.
One other thing I saw was an ask if this is recorded. Yes, I actually hit record this time. It will actually be recorded and passed along. So huzzah me. I'm actually very happy with myself for remembering to hit record here.
We're proud of you, sir.
So we've got one of my favorite people in the world actually asked a question. I haven't talked to her in forever, Miss Wendy Roush. How do you advise organizations to quote unquote bake mentorship into their culture?
Oh,
We've worked together in the past at an org where mentorship among the team was pretty organic, but not everyone wanted to mentor others. Do you think requiring mentorship participation is beneficial on teams? I would say yes, hesitantly. I think a lot of times the people that don't want to mentor are more worried about imposter syndrome. There's definitely exclusions to that. There are some people that, for lack of a better term, want nothing to do with other people. They like their work. That's what they want to do. They don't want to have to talk to someone while they do it.
and we
that
love
is
those
something
people.
that has to be respected.
Yes.
Like as much as you want to force mentorship, it has to be a soft force. There has to be those exceptions, because if you don't have those exceptions, some of your most valuable people on the team that just get the work done are going to be gone, because
Yeah,
they're
and
going
our
to be
team at DEG was great. I mean, if we had a planned mentorship program, I don't think it would have worked so well. The team I went to after leaving DEG had a forced mentorship program you're talking about. And oh man, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
It was not pretty. People got paired with people they didn't like. Um, it There was infighting. It was ugly. I don't think I'd force mentorships.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. The one time I've been part of, like a forced and like corporate templated mentorship program was actually incredibly demoralizing. And one of the like key places I take all of my do not do things in this way from. It was just a brutal experience and kind of crushed me a little bit for a long time. It leaned very far into what we talked about, a mentorship not being, where the person who was assigned to be my mentor did not respect me, did not want to hear what I had to say, treated me as if I was just another person on a conveyor belt, and really was just trying to turn me into them. And it was, like I said, just kind of crushing. So I lean I don't believe that it's always beneficial. I think I'm volunteering for this. The people who are passionate about being invested in those relationships show up the best and provide the most value.
Awesome. All right. So we have agreement in majority with a bit of a different answer, although to the same conclusion. Yeah,
I'm about to say get Wendy on here. Wendy, babe, you should be part of this panel. You got some great questions. Sorry, Greg, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So yeah, no. I think probably one last thing on that question that I just want to make sure that I clarify to match the responses is when I say yes in the sense of forcing mentorship, like I said, this soft approach to it. Don't be, okay, you're matched up with person B, deal with it. It's more of opening the channels, enabling people to mentor, and kind of push them beyond their own limits in that, again, to handle that imposter syndrome. Because a lot of the time I found people aren't comfortable with it and step away from it just because they're scared that they can't do it. When they realize it's just a conversation with another person where you're sharing knowledge, they blossom. There's so many people I've seen turn from that, I don't want anything to do with that, to now they're heavily involved in a million different things and continually growing. As long as you give that option where if that really isn't what it is and there is a legitimate 100% reason that they don't want to do it, that you have the way for them to opt out and continue doing what they're doing. Those are the two parts of it.
To Wendy's question about people that should mentorships be required of people that want to grow into people leaders, I don't think so. I think people leader and mentorships are two different things and two distinct attributes. I have had some really great managers that are horrible fucking mentors. Excuse my language. Oh my God, I just said that. But it's the truth. You know, I mean, I wouldn't take their advice to save my life. You know, I mean, but I would take their advice. I would follow what they said at work and march behind them as a soldier until we win the battle, you know, whatever, you know, I mean, but I don't think so. And as I said earlier, I'm a person I'm a reluctant leader. I've been kind of like pushed into a people leadership position, and I'd rather just be a mentor. I don't want the responsibility of people leadership. So I don't know. I don't think so.
I would agree with you, Jenna. I think good people leaders can really lean into those other areas we talked about earlier, coaches and guides.
Yeah.
I think there are people leaders who are incredible coaches. To your point, they have a plan. They know what needs to be done. They know how to deploy a team to execute it, but they might not be in a place to help anyone grow in a profound way or guide them through soft skills or things like that. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I don't think good people leaders have to be or even always are good mentors.
Yep. I fully agree. I think the other aspect I think to consider is what type of people leader they are. Because there are two different types. There's the people leader that's leading a team. They're leading, a group or even an organization. And at that point, getting that one-to-one imperative for that person to grow is impossible. Like that's too many people to be able to get that involved in and have it be valuable. If you're leading a group of like one or two people, and the idea is as a people leader, it's the growth of and capabilities of your team, I would say mentorship is a bit more important there. I don't think it's something that the leader has to really be highly capable on, but I would say there's more of an expectation there of getting involved personally with the individuals on the team. So really it depends on the type of people leadership as to whether or not I think mentorship should play in there, because the idea of in general people leadership is overall movement of the team, enablement of the team, not just the individual. Having that individual part is really awesome, but I don't think to be a good people leader, you need it.
That was a great way of describing it, Greg. Team versus individual. Yeah.
All right, awesome. On that note, it looks like we are out of questions. I do want to say thank you to everyone, and I know we went a little bit over time. I apologize on that, but yeah, thanks everyone for coming, and thank you to all of our panelists for all of their awesome advice. We'll see you all later.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.